Ho, 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 and Merry Christmas from Austin Dental Spa here in beautiful Austin, Texas, where it's going to be 85 degrees on Christmas Day, from what I understand. Very Merry Christmas. But I hear they're getting some snow up north, so they'll have a white Christmas up there. As you know, if you've been tuning in to our weekly Wisdom Wednesdays, our theme for this month is Slay the Holidays. Slay like in Santa's sleigh, not like in slay like kill. But I figured you probably got that. So anyway, we're talking about a bunch of different subjects that you can slay the holidays in a good way by staying healthier and happier. We've talked about a variety of subjects, and this is our last Wisdom Wednesday of 2021. Woohoo! Because we will not be here next week. Austin Dental Spa will be closed for that week between Christmas and New Year. So my team members can, some of them are going to see family out of town. We'd come back and work 2 days next week and then be off again. So Happy New Year as well to all of you. Thank you for your support and for watching these crazy Wisdom Wednesdays. And what we're going to talk about today is an important topic this time of year: sleep. And there's a lot of crazy information out there about what helps you sleep and what doesn't. Different foods, different drinks, different things that you can take that help with sleep. So I'm going to try to shed a little light on that, on food and drinks. But first, this study was done in Britain, of all places. Do you know that in Britain right now, probably because they're going through another round of shutdowns and the Omicron variant has gone crazy in Britain and really most of Europe apparently now, and people are getting crazy again and doing mask mandates and shutting everything down, which by itself would make some people not want to sleep as well. But the average British person, adult, loses that they sleep so little during the evenings that they lose almost one full night's 8 hours worth of sleep by missing sleep or sleeping poorly during the day. So there's two different things. There's length of sleep and there's quality of sleep, and we're going to talk about both of those. The diet does have an effect on sleep, and mostly I was fortunate enough in dental school in San Antonio, there was a physiology professor that spoke to us every year on melatonin. This guy, we thought he was a weirdo back in the 70s because he was spending his entire research in the physiology lab on this melatonin. It's a hormone that's created by the pineal gland, which is a little gland about that big at the very base of your brain in the center. And back in the 70s, nobody cared about melatonin except Russell Ryder. And then by the 80s, he'd become this big famous guy that was going to all the medical lectures because he was quite the expert on melatonin. And they had figured out that melatonin has to do with your circadian rhythms, which are, the night and day, and how it affects our bodies. A lot of animals are nocturnal, so their circadian rhythms are just the opposite of ours, where we like to be awake during the day and asleep at night. I know a lot of people that as soon as the sun goes down, they start getting tired and they're in bed by 9 o'clock at night. And then they don't get up until the sun comes up at 5:36 in the morning. So that's your circadian rhythms. And everybody has different variations personally in how they live their lives and their diets and what they eat and drink during the day. But some people, it's really strong, and then we got some people like nurses that work the night shift, and they have to black out their windows during the day so that they fool their body into thinking, even though it's bright daylight, that it's dark where they're trying to sleep so that they can get a good day's sleep. But melatonin has been known for a long time to influence sleep patterns, and it's just so simple. You can go to the Randall's grocery store across the parking lot and get at any CVS, Walgreens, you can buy melatonin in 2 milligrams, 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams. Dr. Ryder taught us many, many years ago when I heard him lecturing on it after he'd become world-renowned and famous for melatonin research, that the most effective way to take it is the sublingual pills. You take it 10-15 minutes before you're going to bed at night, and it absorbs underneath your tongue and it gets into your system. But there are some foods that stimulate melatonin production, and the precursor to melatonin is tryptophan. It's an amino acid that's produced by your body, and so if you can take tryptophan as a supplement, I believe, but it's easier to just skip making tryptophan convert to melatonin and just take the melatonin and go straight to the big daddy that is your end result anyway. And a lot of people just taking a 10 milligram or a 5 milligram melatonin, letting it dissolve underneath their tongue, and they sleep like babies, much better than they would if they don't do that. Some people it takes a little more, some people a little less, and some people only take it when they know that they've had one of those days that they're going to have a little trouble going to sleep. But let's talk about the real scoop about different kinds of foods that can help you sleep better. This article called it oily fish. I prefer to call it deep or cold water fish, salmon, herring, those deep cold water fish. They supposedly, halibut to some extent, but particularly salmon, they've got an oily surface to their meat, and they're deep water fish. They have omega-3 and some omega-6 in them. Those two are considered essential fatty acids because your body can't make them. So those are two, omega-3 and omega-6. You see them at Whole Foods in all kinds of supplements. They're whether it's capsules, gel caps, or powders that you can mix with water and get omega-3 and omega-6s. It's important that you have both of those because they are responsible for a lot of the chemical reactions going on in our bodies, particularly including sleep. So omega-3 oils, they were made famous in the movie about 30 years ago called Lorenzo's Oil, where this kid couldn't produce omega-3 and omega-6 oils in his body, and his father was a PhD, and he went to the doctors were telling him, we don't know what's wrong with him, he's just going to die. And the father figured it out, went all the way to Italy and found other kids that had been diagnosed with the same thing. So it's kind of a fun watch over the holidays if you want to watch a fun, uplifting movie that gets pretty dramatic in certain parts of it. Lorenzo's Oil is the name of it. So, but it's been shown, omega-3 fatty acids have been shown in children and adults to stimulate melatonin production and to help you with your sleep cycles. So that's one food that you can try if you're having trouble sleeping at night, especially during the holidays. Tart cherries are another one that's been very commonly used. Most people don't eat the cherries themselves. You can buy you can buy all kinds of supplements that have tart cherry as part of their mix. They also help stimulate melatonin production, and they reduce cortisol. One that I've heard that is kind of a myth, but it's out there a lot, is kiwi fruit from New Zealand, the little green things that have the little starburst pattern on the inside. I know some people that are allergic to kiwi, but so you got to take that off your list. But in one study, they did a study in England that tested kiwi, and some people reported that they got a lot better sleep, and then they tested some insomniacs that were admitted difficult sleepers, and the kiwi had no effect whatsoever. So you got to draw your own conclusions. It's like a lot of other things. It might work for you. Hey, if it doesn't, at least you got a nice healthy meal before you went to bed that night. So try it and see. It's pretty readily available at the grocery stores here, especially places like Whole Foods. But kiwi fruit has not been proven to help, but some people anecdotally have said that it does help them. This is a good one down here in Texas, especially oysters. Oysters have been known for many years I've heard that oysters help you sleep at night. I always thought it was the couple of beers I had along with the oysters that were helping me, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But in 1888, W.F. Nelson, I have no idea who W.F. Nelson is, and I didn't have a chance to look it up, but he was actually quoted as saying, "He who sups on oysters is wont on that night to sleep placidly." So, W.F. Nelson had some experience with oysters. I love oysters on a saltine cracker with a little hot sauce and some horseradish, and man, I can knock out a dozen of them all by myself. But I grew up eating oysters. We grew up 30 miles from the Texas coast, and we'd drive down there and get a big bucket of them and chuck them right there in my mother's sink, and deep batter them and fry them right there. And every 10 or so, we'd just shuck one and eat it raw. So oysters aren't bad for you. They may not help you sleep, but again, it's kind of like the kiwi fruit. Try it and see if you don't have an aversion to eating oysters. And hey, if it helps, great. Now back to that alcohol. I made a little joke about you gotta be drinking wine or beer when you're eating oysters, at least in Mark Sweeney's book. And it just helps them go down. And another tip, don't ever bite an oyster in half and look at it, because they've got this intestinal system in the center. Never mind, just don't do it. Alcohol. Does alcohol help you sleep? There's a lot of myths out there about it. Actually, that's a two-pronged answer, because on the front end, it might help you. Alcohol dulls your brain down. It's a depressant, so it slows things down in your brain, and it gives you a feeling of relaxation. So it is true that alcohol may help you fall asleep faster. Sometimes, when you are still driving your car home, so don't be one of those. But it may help you fall asleep faster, but where alcohol falls short is it dehydrates you, and it affects the quality of your sleep. So quantity and quality are affected negatively by alcohol. Even though you might fall asleep faster, you're more likely to wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, or wake up after 6 or 8 hours and feel sluggish. And if you got to go to work the next day, it's not good to come to work with a hangover anyway. So careful with the alcohol consumption over the holidays. If you're not working, hey, do what you got to do. But how about non-alcoholic drinks that can help? Well, I've heard since I was a little kid, a warm glass of milk at night will help settle your stomach and help you go to sleep. Now, if you're lactose intolerant, not a good idea. But ever since the 70s, I've heard that a warm glass of milk at night, there's really no scientific evidence to support that, just like the COVID vaccine boosters, but that's a whole nother subject. There's no scientific research to show that milk, warm milk or cold milk, will help you sleep at night. But again, it's like the kiwi and the oysters. Hey, try it. If it works for you, great. If it makes you fall asleep faster and makes you sleep better, then go for it. Another one I've heard a lot about, especially here in Austin, bone broth. There are all kinds of different bone broths out there that stimulate your brain, they improve your memory, and they're supposed to help you sleep better. There's a amino acid called glycine in bone broth that is supposed to help with sleep patterns and reduce your cortisol level, which is the stuff that goes up when your brain's under stress. But again, no real scientific proof that bone broth will help you sleep, but hey, give it a try. If you're having trouble sleeping, you might try it. Another one that I hear a lot about, herbal teas. I hear a lot about this. My suggestion would be, if it's caffeinated, probably not a good idea to drink anything caffeinated right before you go to bed at night. A Red Bull right before you're trying to go to sleep, even if you mixed vodka with it, which sounds like a big plan. My daughter even drinks that stuff, but beyond about 9 o'clock at night, she cuts the Red Bull out, because then she can't sleep, or she'll fall asleep because of the vodka and then wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning. So if you're going to try herbal teas, it falls in the category of a lot of other ones. Probably works for some people and not for some other people. Do the decaffeinated or uncaffeinated teas, because there probably are some amino acids that different people are going to feel like is relaxing. I think some of those teas and things like that, it's a honey and tea before you go to bed, is, especially if you've got a scratchy throat or something, is probably more part of a comforting routine that just makes you get into a relaxation state and might help you fall asleep. So those are some of the suggestions for sleep aids. Of course, there's always Ambien and those kind of things that are actually designed to knock you out. But if you can do it a more natural way, that's probably better. As always, vitamin C, D, and zinc are proven to help with just getting your body healthier and making it more likely that you're going to sleep well. Getting a lot of exercise during the day, at least 20 minutes of aerobic exercise every day, has been shown to help. And also, laughing daily. I had to quarantine last week for 10 days because I was exposed to somebody who turned out to be positive for COVID. And so I found that by middle of the afternoon, when I was just bored stiff because I had absolutely zero symptoms, but turning on YouTube and going to comedy and just finding some comedy channels, there's an endless amount of information. And Norman Cousins found this out back in the 70s when he wrote a book called The Anatomy of an Illness. He had a terminal illness. They couldn't figure out what was going wrong with him. It turned out it was some kind of autoimmune thing. He took himself all the pain medications, moved himself into a hotel room, and he watched old slapstick Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin stuff, and he gradually got well. And he weaned himself off all the pain medications because he felt like they were helping keep him sick. So laughing, good belly laughs, great thing to do during the holidays. There's lots of funny movies out there. If you haven't seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, I highly recommend you watch it before Christmas and just belly laugh. So my health tip of the week: avoid eating the hard candies. We had a lady call me 6 o'clock last night, bit into peanut brittle last night and chipped a front tooth off. We've had a couple other people. The hard candies are kind of sticky, gooey on the outside, and they're hard, so they crunch, and they potentially can damage teeth, break fillings out. Because of the stickiness, they can pull dental work out. So be a little careful of that. Even the gingerbread house, it's nice to look at. Even one of my hygienists posted a picture of her 2-year-old building a gingerbread house, and he had the candy that's supposed to go on the roof of it all over his face from eating the gingerbread house. So it's a fun holiday thing, but they're more to look at than they are to keep your dentist in business. So see you next year. Thanks. It was a little long-winded today, but I might have put you to sleep while you're watching this. So, hey, mission accomplished. Have a great rest of the year, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And I will see you January 5th for another version, the first version of 2022, Wisdom Wednesday. Merry Christmas.